childhood. How was your early childhood as Karen Gravano growing up?
Amazing. I think that I had just a regular, ordinary childhood. I grew up in a very close knit Italian family, surrounded by family, parties, love, whatever seemed to have gone on outside the house. I was very shielded from that. I just had a mom that was home. She was a, stay at home mom. She took care of me and my brother. I had so many cousins, and just really like my earliest memories of childhood was filled with like love and
Yeah.
family.
And when did you move from Brooklyn to Staten Island? How old were you?
I was about 7 or 8 years old. And that
Okay.
was like back in the day. I mean, I cross the bridge sometimes 3 times a day now, and it's just like nothing. But back, being 7 years old, and, you know, Brooklyn to Staten Island was just such a big move, especially now. Staten Island is all built up. And,
Yeah.
back when I came here, and I don't want to date myself, but I just told you guys I turned 50. But anyway, it was like a lot of farmland. So it
Yeah.
just seemed like I was moving to a whole new world back.
Yeah.
Hello.
Especially. Yeah. It froze for a second, but we got that. You moved to Staten Island, a lot of farmland, and a whole new world. So obviously, it was a new world for you,
Yeah.
7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
When you moved there, did you have your fast neighborhood friends? You just kind of show your brother. What was that like in Staten Island at first?
You know, when we first moved to Staten Island, it was like the block that we lived on. It was
Yeah.
fairly new homes. Everything was new construction. So everybody that moved to that block were, kind of around my parents' age. They were just starting families, the same kids around the same age as us. So it was, you know, nobody knew anyone, but we went out. There was so many kids on that block. We made a lot of friends. And then eventually, my father's sister moved on the block, which she moved in the house right across the street. So then my cousins came there, and my father's mother and his father, my in like Italian
Yeah.
households, and like everybody moves on the same block, or you're in the
Yep.
same house. So my mother's sister moved
Yep.
there. So that block had like both my aunts, all my cousins, and then a lot of friends that I made. It was fun. Growing up in Staten Island, I have to say I had a lot of good memories. I think my parents' thinking, especially my father, was because of who he was. And, at the time he was kind of up and coming in the mob. And I guess
Yeah.
a lot of his activities that were going on were primarily in Brooklyn. So I think he thought moving us to Staten Island was, keeping us outside away from the life. And that's kind of what it felt like.
Interesting. Now, what was your first I want to say external brush? Like you went to school and somebody's like, your dad's in the mob. What was like your first external kind of, hey, you know what? Karen, you're different.
Um, I think my first I have to say I never felt different because
Okay.
I did grow up with a lot of people that were similar to I was. Their fathers,
Got it.
grandfathers, uncles, they were
Got it.
involved in that lifestyle.
Got
So
it.
in my community and like people my age, I did have a lot of people that fathers were in that lifestyle.
Okay.
But when I want to say I was probably maybe 10 or like
Okay.
9 or 10. I do remember that there was a murder outside my father's nightclub, and I was, kind of privy to information, just hearing them at the dinner table. My father was annoyed with the guy. And then I remember reading in the newspaper because I was just about that age. I mean, I think I was
Yeah.
like 9 or 10. You could start reading. And
Yeah.
it was his nightclub, and there was a murder outside of it. And I think my father was named in there. And, for a second, you think about it, right? And it's like, wait, my father was annoyed. He was selling it to this guy. Could it be? And then, he walks in the kitchen and he's acting as normal. Hey, baby, you want breakfast? And, it
Yeah.
just kind of goes out of your mind. I think as a kid, you never look at your parent as a villain or a bad guy,
Yeah.
especially the way I grew up with my father. My father was very protective. He was, he was very loving. And I never seen the dark side of that lifestyle. And like I said, there were glimpses. That was one of them. And then I think I was about, I don't know, maybe 11 or something. I was playing at a friend's house. I had just started going to Staten Island Academy, which is a little bit more prestigious school in Staten Island.
Yeah.
And, there were other gangsters, kids that went to that school, but there were also very